On this week's episode of Devil's Trap Podcast, we'll talk about what do you bring to a demon block party?
And Cat Satanus.
And Sinner in the Streets, Pound Underground.
And Cat Satanus. Let's do this.
Welcome to this week's episode of Devil's Trap Podcast. I'm Diana.
I'm Liz.
And we're going to talk about Season 5, Episode 3, Free to Be You and Me. Yeah, so, hey, we've, been releasing episodes, but we're back together actually on the same continent now, kind of. So here we go.
We are exactly on the same continent.
We are on the same continent.
That is for
accurate,
sure.
For sure. Geographically accurate, yes. So how have you been?
I am recovering from a great adventure through the United Kingdom, and really just through a specific parts of the United Kingdom. I went to Scotland, went to Edinburgh, and to Glasgow, and then went down to Blackpool, England. Yep. And look at Blackpool, England. Actually, it's a really fun town. Kind of shitty, kind of lovely, but I think the highlight of the spookiness was the visit to the South Bridge Vaults. And so the South Bridge Vaults are in Edinburgh, and they are underneath Cowgate. And so there's a couple of different places of underground ventures you can do in Edinburgh. And they were right underneath this punk rock bar that I went into that we almost got into a bar fight at. Like you do. And I was unaware that underneath this were these vaults. And the woman who was leading the tour, who was faking a terrible Scottish accent, we think she was from, a Norwegian, maybe a Norwegian accent or an Eastern European. I don't know. We couldn't tell because, there was the fake accent on top of the other accent. And yeah, but she, was going off about, and you go in, right? And they have this whole room and it's set up like a coven. Right, and they're like, this is where the actual source coven of the Blue Dragon was. And make it sound like all mystical and old. And then you realize, that happened in the 80s. And I'm like, oh, okay, so that's not as spooky as, during the 1800s, there was a coven down here.
The 1980s, not the 1780s.
Yeah. But so there's all these different rooms in there, and we go so there's one that's set up and has the altar on it, and very Wiccan. And then you go to another one and there's a circle, and she's just saying basically it's a circle of evil, and that the coven stopped practicing in that circle because there was too many malevolent spirits in it. And then she says nobody dares to jump in the circle. Then I jumped in the circle. Well, technically Kelly jumped in the circle first, then my other friend jumped in the circle, then I jumped in the circle, and then I think I may have done a little dance of evil in the circle. Then in Blackpool, I did get my palm read again. And I got my palm read by Leonora Petalengro? Petulengro? We'll put her website up. It's not really a website. It's a weird place where they may be stealing your credit card information. Not sure. But she is the palmist to the stars. She's read, I think, Paul the Beatles' hands, maybe Dolly Parton's, Aretha Franklin. She had a list of, celebrities. According to her, I've had a child.
Surprise!
So apparently maybe I just miscarried a child and didn't know or something. But apparently I had a kid. I'm like, that's cool. And that I need to put my past behind me so I can move on and be happy. And I walked out and Kelly's like, is that what she told you? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, how much was that? I was like, $20. He's like, I pay my therapist $150 an hour to tell me that. I'm like, yeah, just go get your palm read. And I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I should put my past behind me and move on. But still, it was really cool to meet her. It was nice to get a different reading done. Blackpool also has a spiritualist church, which I was just I was walking past it. It was like, what? And guess what it's called?
I got an immediate text on that one.
Yeah, of course you did. But yeah, so Albert Road Spiritualist Church, they really have mediums there. Like, it was very cool to actually see one in person. And the last cool thing that I did, spooky wise, on our last night, we went back all the way back up through Scotland to fly out, and we went to the witchery for dinner. And there's just like carvings everywhere. There was a dark lord behind me, like watching me as I ate my food. It was great. There was also the tattoo was going on, which is the military marching things that they do in Scotland. And so like people, like all these military,
there's a parade of some kind.
yeah, so all of these military groups from all over the world were there, and so you could see them in the window as we're eating, like walking down the street. It was really cool. And then we went and had like after dinner cocktails in the secret garden. And I did request that if any witches wanted to come back with me, because that was the site of many witches who were executed. That's where they were killed at, or something like that. So I asked if any of them wanted to come back to the States. I haven't seen any evidence yet, but you never know.
Yeah,
maybe
they're just
there's
hanging out and taking a read on things before they
yeah
show themselves.
So that was my trip in a nutshell. Lots of other stories that I'm sure will come out one day. So what's going on with you?
We've been just hanging. Like I said, I had a quick trip for work down to Houston, but other than that, it's been went to a couple really fucking rad concerts, and I alluded to them I think last time we recorded. But Amigo the Devil and The Devil Makes Three. No, I lied. Amigo the Devil and Murder by Death.
I was gonna say Devils Make 4, 5.
No, there is a band called Devil Makes Three, we went and saw Amigo the Devil with Murder by Death, and Amigo the Devil was fucking phenomenal. It's like murder ballad, like goth folk, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. It's rad. Strong recommend if you get a chance to see him. It just a really great show, super fun. And that was
really
awesome.
Great show.
And then the one I'm super excited about is we went and saw our friends, the Vandaliers. So yeah, we went to the show in Dallas. It was their album release and their hometown show, and it was just a bunch of people we know and love, a bunch of music we adore. One of the offshoot bands from Turnpike Troubadours was one of the openers. It's RC and the Ambers, fucking great. Mallory Eagle is from Oklahoma, singer-songwriter. She's fucking great. And the Vandaliers just kicked fucking ass, and it was super duper duper fun. Party time, needed Saturday to rest all day to recover kind of show.
Very cool.
Awesome. And then we popped out. Some other friends of ours were doing a tour of Deep Ellum where they played. So Deep Ellum, if you don't know, is the entertainment district in Dallas. And they played 4 venues in 4 nights in Deep Ellum. And it's a joke off something the old 97s did many years ago. And we were like, we hadn't made it to any. We were like, well, we got into the finale. So we did. And it was cool. Yeah. So that's all I got. I'm drinking McPherson Tricolore, so it's a three red blend. No, it's quite nice.
That sounds lovely. I am drinking a Graveyard, which is they have a local tasting room in Dripping Springs. Graveyard. Ugh, they're spooky. But the grapes are actually from California, from Paso Robles. But this is a Syrah from 2019. Delicious. All right, so we ready to talk Supernatural?
I mean, I'll be a dick. Like, do we have to talk about this episode? I don't know. So let me be fair going into this before you give your important background information. Last week's episode, the episode 2 of this season, was a really fascinating concept, but really distressing ethically. I think that's how I would sum it up in a lot of ways, and kind of just a bummer end. And this one, I feel like, is important because there's a lot of, you can tell, critical pieces to the story going on, but it's also kind of a fucking bummer. Like, there's some really funny parts, don't get me wrong, but it's kind of like, and it's very stressful because it goes back and forth a lot. That's my summary. Go ahead with your background information before we get into the rest of the episode itself.
Okay, I was going to say that, you know, we have cat anus coming up, so I mean, of course we want to talk Supernatural because cat butt. All right, so this title, Free to Be You and Me, actually refers to a 1970s children record and TV show called Free to Be You and Me. Never seen it. I didn't watch the clip. Had you ever seen it?
No.
No? Okay, whatever then.
I mean, I know the name. I don't.
So this first aired September 24th, 2009. It was directed by J. Miller Tobin. So he did Born Under a Bad Sign and The Very Supernatural Christmas. He recently directed an episode of, there's a CW show called Tom Swift. Have you heard about that?
I don't know it. Yeah.
It looks really interesting, but there's angels in it. So I was like, I said, like, all my shows have to have demons and angels. And so, like, the summary for, like, his episode starts off with, like, Tom's mysterious guardian angel Rowan makes an urgent plea for help in rescuing a missing scientist targeted by the same anti-tech conspiracy that sabotaged Baron Swift's ship.
And you're like, I'm in.
I kind of want to see this. So, and this was also written by Jeremy Carver. So that's the nutshell on the production.
Yeah. So we start off with Sam sleeping at the Great Plains Motel, or trying to, because he's not really being able to sleep.
He's not. And the Great Plains Motel is also a club, a bar, a grill, and a patio.
So anyway, then he sees Jessica in bed with him. He thinks he's dreaming, and she asked what he's doing. So basically this is what appears to be what we've seen him deal with before when he was dealing with his addiction, of utilizing visions of members of his life to play his subconscious at this point.
Yeah, and he's doing a lot of deep sigh and puppy dog eyes here.
Yeah.
Like, that seems to be a lot of the, I miss you. Look at you in your little white nightgown.
And she's like fucking with his guilt and all this kind of stuff, a little bit about how, and accuses him of running away from himself.
Yeah, and she gets very dark, which makes you think that something is like,
it's not
it's
quite
like,
right.
I don't remember like just being this emo, right? Yeah. And but Sam is also, we see him diving into this thing that just irritates the fuck out of me, and that is well, I'm a freak, and
I tried to be normal, but it didn't work, so now I'll just accept that I'm a freak.
And again, I think it's just from someone who tries so hard to, I don't know, like, I mean, I think I had like freak written across my jeans. Like, we were very proud of that word when we were in the 90s. We were.
Yeah, we were. You owned that shit.
Yep.
I'm not like that. I'm
a freak. And then, but she also, the one line I want to say before we move on, she told him that I was dead from the moment we met. Yeah. And I was like, damn,
that was
girl,
harsh.
that is a hard.
Super harsh. And when you run, people die, but you never change. Anyway, but like also, so it's really dark for Jess, but thinking back to previous episodes from the end of last season with the addiction and all that, you saw him have these visions where it was members of people he cared about saying things that they would never say and didn't say, and now we know also it's probably some other intervention there, but you never know. Like, it was kind of like, okay, this could just be his subconscious fucking with him again.
Either way, it's fucking depressing.
Oh, totally depressing. So
yeah, so I get what you say about, like, it starts off like as a bummer. We're in Bummertown, we're in Bumland.
Bummertown.
Bumfuck town. Like, we're bumping. Okay, moving on.
All right. Then we get some Skinnerd.
We get a lot of Skinnerd.
Like, the entire song, Simple Man, from start to finish. Like, the whole fucking song. Which is not a short song. I should look it up. But I think they looped it. It was long. It seems like it was half the episode we were listening to the song.
Maybe we were. I don't know.
Felt like it.
That's the Evil Circle's problem for me now, is I had to listen to Skinnerd over and over again.
And no, I mean, like, I don't hate Skinnerd, but good Lord.
I don't hate Skinnerd. I hate Skinnerd fans. And I've been around enough Skinnerd fans that now I also just associate it with them.
There's bands I dislike because I don't like their audience. Mm-hmm. And it makes me not like the band. So I understand that completely.
Yep.
I won't name them because I will gain enemies. Simple Man by Leonard Skinnerd's playing. And basically we have a series back and forth of just shot of Sam by himself, shot of Dean doing stuff by himself, shot of Sam doing stuff by himself, shot of Dean doing stuff by himself. Including Sam shows up at this hotel. Dean is at a hospital, at Taft Memorial Hospital in Pennsylvania, with a knife in his waistband of his suit. We've got Sam burning all of his IDs and credit card. Meh.
Well, also, would that even work? Like, if I'm going to destroy some IDs, I don't think lighter fluid on plastic is... How long would it have to take for those to melt? Like, I would just cut them up,
better ways.
throw them out. Also, I feel like you spent a lot of time making those fake IDs or buying them.
Well,
and
like,
the credit cards.
Adopt this one? Is he just adopting one identity and gonna live in that fucking motel forever? This seems like a very like not well thought out plan.
No, this is rash. It is. I don't agree. But yeah. So we know Dean is also going against. I just want to say this word: exsanguinated.
Oh yeah, he's going to talk to. He introduces himself as Detective Bill Buckner, which was a MLB player, by the way. And,
yeah. Thankfully, Supernatural Wiki told me that because I'm like, what band is Bill Buckner in? And then I was like, oh, sports ball.
Which is kind of a throwback to now the brothers are separated, and he's got a baseball theme, which ties back to their other brother that was separated from them, who went to the baseball game with John. Anyways, that's probably a stretch. I don't know if somebody thought that out, but I thought
we'll run with it. Very insightful, Diana. Very insightful.
So Dean's asking this coroner about exsanguinated patients. It is such a fun word.
Isn't it a good word?
It is. And so we know Dean's working a job. Sam gets a job at a bar. And Dean kills a vampire and says, "Eat it, Twilight." Which I did.
Yeah. If you're going to have a snappy line as you're murdering somebody, it's a good one.
It's a good one. But then we compare, but they do a really good job on this. I know I bitched a little bit about like the back and forth. The first couple like cuts back and forth, you don't like really see, like, it's not totally synced up. But this point is where you really kind of see it sync up because Dean stabs a vampire using a knife. Sam is slicing lemons with a knife. And then you've got Dean stabbing with blood splatter everywhere while Sam's got lemon juice in his face. And so that was really a well done aspect of comparing and contrasting what they were doing while they both involved knives, but dramatically different outcomes.
The editing on it was fantastic. I really like that. Yeah.
So, and then, we got Dean trunk and Sam getting checked out by the chick
thirsty bartender. Yep.
Yeah. And Sam washing the bar top, and Dean washing baby, and
washing blood off of baby, which was disturbing. I'm like, oh, that's gonna ruin the paint. Have you washed blood off of Duchess yet?
No.
Okay, well, you don't know.
Oh, Duchess is still in the shop.
Oh, poor Duchess.
It's very sad. She should be back shortly. It's very sad. So, anyway, so finally we hear the end of the Skinnerd song, so this montage can end.
Well, at least they do bring it back in,
yeah.
So Dean's actually listening to it as he's driving, which is a good touch. But
he looks over to
really
where Sam would be sitting.
It.
Yeah, but he looks over to where Sam would be sitting and looks sad.
Do you think like he wanted to jam with Sam, like be like, "I'm a simple man," and he's like, "Oh,
I'm simple." Yeah, that whole thing. Yeah. Probably, but then he realized he was by himself. So now Dean is back at his hotel, his motel that he's at in Pennsylvania, and Cass shows up and startles Dean pretty bad. And apparently he's like, "How the fuck did you find me? 'Cause you're not supposed to be able to find me now." And apparently Bobby told Castiel where Dean was, and
when he flaps in, oh so close to Dean, oh so close.
Yeah, because he's an angel and he's not aware of human things like personal space. So
sure, that's why
they ask.
They were gonna kiss. You see it there; they're like right now, like face to face. They're so about to make out.
In the meantime, he needs help with something else, and they need to find the archangel that killed Castiel, Raphael. And this is where we start our Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle jokes. And basically, Castiel heard that Raphael's on Earth, and so we need to trap and interrogate an archangel because that sounds easy.
It does. We also learned that when Cass boops somebody, they get constipated.
Yes, because he's about to boop Dean so they can go to Maine, where Raphael has been spotted, apparently. And Dean informs us that he didn't poop for a week last time he got booped.
Well, I think it's also kind of like, the travel shy, like pooping, like, when you go on vacation, sometimes you don't poop for the first couple of days.
Yeah. I don't know,
And
though.
maybe that's it,
different.
but like multiplied. No.
Maybe so.
But also with the way Dean drinks and eats, he probably has no problems with that. All right, so we're going to go back to the bar. And we learned that Sam has a new name.
Yeah, he's going by Keith.
Ew.
It's a choice.
Sorry if your name is Keith.
Yeah, it's also like a weird... So here's my thing, too. Like, I get it's easier to guess if it's closer to your actual name. But also, doesn't it just seem easier to more naturally react if it's close to your actual name?
Also... Who gives a shit? Like, you're in a small town in Oklahoma. Like,
they're
just
not
use
gonna
Sam.
piece it together.
Yeah, use Sam. Like, maybe change your last name. Like, whatever. But no one fucking knows.
No. And waitress, bartender chick, Lindsay, as we learn her name is, basically is calling Sam, a.k.a. Keith, out for being smarter than he's letting on because he did a crossword puzzle.
Oh, and he did the New York Times Saturday crossword puzzle, which is not the hard one. Sunday is the hard
Yeah, I was
one.
gonna say, I was like,
Saturday is
not
the fun one.
Yeah, I was like, I didn't think.
Yeah,
that was the
Saturday's
tough
the one that usually has like, and I haven't done them in forever, but
Right.
they're the ones that used to have like the fun anagram or whatever that was in the middle. Like you had to guess like what the theme was, and I always like that because it's like a Wordle, right?
Yeah.
Like I have clues, I can figure stuff out. But
Yeah, I would say, I thought Sunday was the difficult one, so it was weird.
also Oklahoma. So I mean, he could
Small
like
town
write in a.
You-
I'm pretty sure she was like, "You did Sudoku. Like you're a fucking genius."
So she wants to bet on darts, and if she wins, that she gets to hear his life story. And so he's like, "Sure," and throws a bunch of bullseyes. But
Yeah. And that only makes her want him more. He is mysterioso and also unattainable.
Yes.
So, I mean, as all women know, well, one, he's hot. So you have this hot man who clearly has mysterious past that he's not telling you.
And he's the smartest person in your small town.
And probably the best looking that has, like, come through, like, Oklahoma in a while.
Yeah.
Like, this looks like a small town, and Lindsay probably doesn't have a lot of options.
Yeah. So, and then we hear on the news in the background that there's lightning, hail, and fires, and some places looking at mandatory evacuations. And the bartender makes a reference to the end of the world, which makes Sam very concerned face. Very concerned face.
But you knew that was happening, Sam. Like, this is not
Very
news.
concerned.
You started the apocalypse.
You started is happening, motherfucker. What?
What? Oh my God! No, there was, and also it's Oklahoma, right? So they said, what was it like?
They have weird weather and fires, anyways.
That's what they have hail and fire. Right? I'm like, yeah, it's Oklahoma. Like if they're not getting hit with like a dozen tornadoes and
no
like
tornado,
cows
just,
shitting fire,
yeah.
like it's just a normal day.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. So we cut back to good old Dean and Castiel in Maine. And they are at the sheriff's office where apparently this deputy saw the archangel. So they want to ask this deputy, like, hey, where the fuck's this guy that became an archangel? And he tells them a crazy story.
he really, really does.
Now, to be fair, also, before he tells the crazy story, Castiel does a terrible job at being undercover with Dean. And, yeah.
Yes, they're playing FBI. Dean introduces himself as a character from Midnight Run, and so he was the he said the name of the FBI agent in there, which was Alonzo Mosley, and that Cass was Eddie Moscone, which is a bail bondsman in the same movie. So he's just pulling his names out from everywhere now. So now we're in the movies. Now we're in Midnight Run. But yes, Cass like trying to flash his badge, and like Dean just being like, ugh.
It was really good physical comedy though in that scene in their entrance.
There was this crazy gas explosion.
Yeah, at the gas station mechanic shop thing, and he said it was just like the whole place was leveled. It was just awful. Like it sounds like a whole lot of people did. And then there's one guy just kneeling without a scratch on him.
But like Dean's like, well, clearly this guy's gone, right? And he was like, no, he's at the hospital
right down the road. So they go to the hospital to go visit Donnie, and Donnie is not well.
Yeah, he looks like he's taking a little mental vacation in his wheelchair. He's just chilling out there, you know.
He is not there mentally.
But also, it looks very quiet and peaceful. Whatever he's doing, he looks fine. He doesn't look tormented. I'm just like, oh, that looks lovely. He's just sitting there like quiet. Nobody's fucking bothering him until someone decides to light a fire around him. But
apparently he is now an empty vessel. And Dean asks if that will be him if Michael jumps his bones. And Dean tells him, oh no, Michael is more powerful. It will be much worse.
So we cut to Sam, and he's got his laptop open to the Worldwide Archive Library.
Oh.
I was just like, who came up with this? Like the worst title ever. Like, oh, so yeah, I'm gonna go through the database of the Worldwide Archive Library and to go find it. But and it's on a page of the Book of Revelation, right? And I'm like, don't you just have a Bible? Like, why are you looking at the old? Like,
hold on, you're at a motel in Oklahoma. There's fucking a Bible in there.
There's probably 3 Bibles in there because all of them came by. So you've got the Gideon, you've got the Mormon, and then there's like probably a 3rd Bible of just that Esther came by. And Esther is like, you got to put this in here. Yeah. And they're like, sure, Esther. So there's plenty of other, like maybe you're looking for a specific passage in that very specific book, but it's weird.
Yeah. But we've got, he is reading this and then he pulls out his phone and scrolling through his contacts on his flip phone like you do, and stops on Dean and then scrolls back and calls Bobby. So we get to see Bobby. Yay, Bobby. But Bobby's in a wheelchair, and he's sad about being in a wheelchair. But he's telling Bobby about the revelation omens that he's seeing where he's at in Oklahoma, which are hail, fire, and then blood.
Yeah, we also learned that the Oklahoma he's in is Garber.
Yeah.
Which I actually didn't look up if it was a real place. It doesn't sound like a great place if it is. Not shitting on Garber, Oklahoma. I'm sure you guys are fantastic. All right. So the omens he sees. And he's like, all right, listen to this. And upon his rising, there shall be hail and fire mixed blood.
Mm-hmm.
So and Bobby is just like, hey.
He's like, okay, why are you calling? Sam says, I'm going to sit this one out. And hangs up.
I'm not hiding right now. I'm on vacation. I can't do anything. But Bobby, I think, is completely appropriate to be like, why the fuck should I bother risk somebody else's life when the best hunter is right there?
Yeah. So
buckle up, Sam.
Yeah.
So then we're gonna cut to Dean.
He's squatting again.
It's a squat, right?
Yeah, he's squatting.
That's what I was. Yeah.
Dean's squatting in a creepy house again. He's walking around the house and Castiel shows up, and apparently he was just over in Jerusalem, no biggie. And I thought it was funny. Dean asks how it was, and arid. There you go. So, but Castiel has a very rustic jug with him, as I described it, and apparently it is full of expensive and rare special oil.
That he's gonna rub Dean down with.
No. So it's a rustic jug.
Well, it sounds like it's artisanal. It's artisanal oil, and so
he had to get all the way to Jerusalem to go to this farmer's market to pick it up.
There's just this hipster guy, like
just some random hipster dude that happens to be in Jerusalem, has nothing to do with any religious background at all.
I'm sure Jerusalem is full of hipsters. I'm quite sure there are hipsters there.
And this is when Dean's like, but wait, this is gonna be your last night on Earth. What do you want to do? And Castiel has nothing to say. So Dean tries to kind of pry out of him things he hasn't done and maybe wants to experience, and figures out that Castiel is a virgin. And Dean can't allow him to die a virgin. Now, I have problems with this, because we know that this vessel is not a virgin because he has a child and a wife.
Mm-hmm. So your problem is that
is Castiel now the vessel at this point? Like, has this, because of how they left it and his family left and they just decided this was it for safety and went away? Is this body now actually Castiel's, or does it still belong to this human?
Is it still Jimmy Novak's?
Yeah, because
I mean, He was resurrected into Jimmy Novak's form. Whether or not Jimmy Novak is still in there, I don't think so. I think Jimmy Novak is in heaven, as we saw like during the other one. But I like that that's the problem you have with it, not the fact that Dean tells his lover Cass that you're not going to die a virgin. He literally just says, I won't let you die a virgin.
And takes them somewhere else.
But we're going to go back to Oklahoma before we get to figure out where they're going.
Yeah.
And somebody is calling out Sam's name.
Yeah.
And he's trying to ignore it. And this is the problem when you name yourself something else.
It is. See, that's the thing. So they make up some dumb story about his middle name being Sam. So his name is Keith Sam, which is does not flow. So it's dumb. But we figure out that. So basically these guys are looking for.
But Keith Samuel is fine.
It's fine. I don't know why people are so upset about it. They make a big deal about it. And I was like, well, Keith Samuel, I mean, it's whatever. And
it's not like Randy Johnson or something, right? Like, it's...
Right.
Apologize if your name is Randy Johnson.
It's not like some, like, weird, like, dirty combination or something. Yeah, it's like, it doesn't flow, but okay.
It's not dicks on butts.
So, apparently, obviously these are hunters that are looking for Sam. And they call themselves hunting buddies. That's our big cue that we know this. And they're playing along because they realize that Sam is hiding who he is. So,
as a hunter too, right? I mean,
right,
this just to
these
me
guys
like
pick up aliases all the time. Luckily,
it just seems like this would be natural, and they do kind of play this off well. I mean, these are hunting buddies. My father in Oklahoma is probably a pretty good alibi. Yeah. The fact that Lindsay is shocked by someone being a hunter in Oklahoma, that's weird.
Yes, it's like, yeah, what do you? Okay, it doesn't mean anything.
I'm sure she like pulls out her gun and like puts on like her like camo and just like, let's go,
She got her real tree boots. She ready?
Yeah, let's go shoot some pigs.
Yeah. So anyway, so Sam goes to talk to them, and basically Bobby had called them because they figured out that there were definitely demons, hanging out in this town. So
no, they're just hanging out. They're having a party.
Yeah, a demon block party. Demon block party. Ooh, ooh. Liz just wants to know where her invite is.
Exactly.
So
I got in your circle, bitches. All right. So, but then they start giving him shit.
Yeah, because he doesn't want to help. He wants to sit it out. I can't help. Yeah. It just isn't.
I don't get it. And I feel like Sam could have come up with a better lie than just I'm having cramps or whatever he says. Because I think, just like I sprained my ankle. Like something like fake an injury. Just be like, gee man, like I've got this chlamydia and it won't go away. My syphilis is like taking over. Like something like that would make sense.
Having a flare up right now.
Just anything, just like come up with something like.
So
but I'm having personal problems.
Yeah, they finally concede and they leave though. And Lindsay's dumbass. So your parents were drunk when they named you, and you shoot Bambi?
Yeah, I think this is the point where I'll tell you what was cut from this episode. Apparently, there's a scene of Sam and Lindsay doing it that got cut, and they used it like there's a bit of it in the promo that they use on. I think it was it WB or CW? I don't know.
CW, yeah.
At this time, yeah. So I'm glad they cut that. I don't want to see Lindsay and Sam bonk because I am not a fan.
No.
Of Thirsty Lindsay.
No, she's kind of
I know she's just trying to get what she can because she's in Oklahoma and she's a very limited market. But it's a lot. Let him go.
Yeah, and that was just a dumb line because, like, if you're trying to endear yourself to him, okay, I already get you. You think he's mysterious, but, like, it's still dumb. Anyways.
Also, like, Lindsay, fucking red flags are starting to pop up, right? This guy's sketch. He's got a fake name. Sketchy. He's not telling you shit. Like, yeah, he's hot. Like, all of these things. Like, boom, boom, boom. Like, there's a reason he's single and in Oklahoma.
And using a fake name.
It's not going to be good. You're going to find out he's got a prison record for meth. It's Oklahoma. Like, that's actually what is going to happen.
So she insists, though, that she's going to buy him dinner and get him to tell everything about his life. And so, there we go.
She just pushes him to it. Just push her. All right. But, and we're going to flash to someplace else where Dean has taken Cass to a den of iniquity.
By the way, Den of
Also,
Iniquity,
great word.
It's a great word. That was actually the name of one of my band's albums, Den of Iniquity. So if you,
Which is really funny because that is something I would say, like, name of my next album. And Diana's like, no, I actually had an album named that. That's amazing.
Band I was in about, was that almost 10 years ago? Yeah, something like that.
We don't do math on the show.
Sawed Off Sick. I think you might find it online. I'm not on most of the recordings because I joined the band after they did it, but that's okay. But yeah, it was my band. There we go. Castiel is sweating quite nervously in this place, by the way. And Dean's like, you've already rebelled against heaven. Why do you care? Which is pretty funny. So we have a young lady approach Castiel.
In a white nightgown.
In a white nightie. And her name is Chastity.
Uh-huh.
Because of course it is.
Yep.
And so she leads Castiel away to go have some private time. And Dean steps.
Yeah. As they're going away, Dean says, I should be able to say this, Dayenu, Dayenu. And I had to look it up because I was like, wait, did I not understand what you said? Did I have a stroke? But apparently it's a Hebrew word, and it is a name of a very famous Passover song of giving thanks. And so this means to be grateful to God for these gifts. Oh. And that's what he says before he starts giving him cash.
Nice. Yeah. And he makes a comment about no credit cards and only the basics. Don't order off the menu.
At this point, I'm also like, Cass doesn't even know what the basics are.
I was going to say, I was like, does he know what the menu is? Let's just...
But also...
But he's in a human body, so does he know general... Like, that's where, like, my mind gets blown, because Jimmy...
Counter-argument, yeah. Cass has also been an angel for thousands of years, peeping in on people.
He knows where
how do you not know how people fuck?
Right.
Like, that's all I would be doing if I was like a watcher angel and had thousands of years. I'd be like, what's going on in that room? Like, I would totally be. Yeah, I'd be like earlier. I joined this broadcast before Diana had joined, and it was just like her house and like an empty camera, and I did feel like a stalker. And yeah, this was a view, if you're watching the video, this is a view I got earlier, and all I could hear was Dave and Babe talking in the background. And I'm like, okay, I'm very uncomfortable now.
It was just talking, you heard.
God, I hope that was just talking. So anyhow, so Dean is cheersing a sex worker because he's making friends. I mean, honestly, if I was in a Den of Iniquity, I would have so many questions. I'd be, I'm so sorry, madam. Like, please tell me everything about your life. Yeah. And yeah.
So then we hear screaming from the back, where Castiel had left to, and Dean.
At first, you're like, did he order off the menu?
Oh, well, Dean knows that is not what is going down because he just knows. So he runs back there, and she is cursing at Chastity is cursing out Castiel, throwing money back at him, and yelling at Dean, and runs off. And Dean asks Castiel what he did. Yeah. So.
Yeah, and I think Chastity may have overreacted. So apparently Cass read her mind and told her that it was not her fault that her dad ran off. And Dean lovingly points out that daddy issues fuel most of the sex industry, which is a bias, not true. But at the same time, worse things have happened to you in this house of
right. I'm like, that's the worst thing. That's the worst thing somebody said to you.
He talked to you? Oh my God. How dare he talk to you? But Dean thinks this is fucking hilarious.
Hysterical. And they get out, they have to sneak out the back because the bouncers are coming, and he is saying it's been years since he laughed that hard. So we cut to to Sam, aka Keith, on a date with Lindsay. Ugh. And she obviously doesn't believe that those were hunting buddies, and so he's trying to play it off that they were in the same business. And she wants to know about it, but he's doing a pretty good job of kind of like changing the subject. And she falls for it really easily.
Yep, she thinks he was like in WITSEC and that he was in the mafia, and you know that's working for her. She's like, oh, I love this bad boy. Oh, he did something. And then she's like, hey, what were you addicted to? I'm like, what the fuck, Lindsay? Like, back the fuck off. Like,
what are you in recovery for? This is my first date question. Like, what the fuck? It's a lot.
This is a lot, thirsty Lindsay. Like, you need to step back a little bit, because any man or woman or whoever, whatever person you have gone too far.
It's a lot. It's a
you
little bit
pushed too much.
We're gonna call this an overstep.
It's an overstep, and Sam's just trying to play it off. And I know it's because, like, he's trying to be nice and cover up his shit. But at the same time, I'd be like, the date's over. Yeah. See you. Yeah. I'll see you at work. And she pulls out.
She pulls out her sobriety coin, and they make a reference to how they both work at bars and how weird that is, or whatever. But and she's trying to give him the pep talk about being in recovery, about no one's ever done anything so bad they can't be forgiven or changed.
Which is a nice thought, right? And it is true, right? Like, I mean, especially if you're going in the moral compass of the show, that you can forgive yourself. You can be forgiven. There's nothing. Okay, starting the apocalypse.
That's iffy.
I don't know. Like, I mean, whatever. So we're like, while we're pondering, can you be forgiven for starting the apocalypse? We're gonna cut to the hospital.
Yeah.
And Dean perving.
Well, she was really cute.
She was cute, but we don't need that much of douchiness. I need less douche Dean. So then we're just gonna start a fire at a hospital,
right? Because they've got to make a circle with the oil from the rustic jug from the farmer's market in Jerusalem, and they've got to make a circle with the oil and light it on fire around Donnie's wheelchair. Yeah.
No one in this hospital notices a...
Nope. Two random dudes going into the room, closing the door, closing the blinds, and starting a fire.
Like, even with the blinds closed, you could see the fire from the other side. I mean, granted, maybe these nurses in Maine are on their game, but I think an orderly or somebody, like, hey, what's this weird light coming from this room? But cool, whatever. Like, we're going to do our Gregorian chants, because that's our theme for the season.
Okay.
Apparently.
Yeah. And Cassiel kind of explains how this opens a phone line between the vessel and an angel.
And I think he's just saying cell phone carriers. Like, I heard, like, Nokia. I think Verizon was in there. Come to my T-Mobile.
And then he calls. He goes, what is it? I'm here, Raphael. Come and get me, you little bastard.
Ooh, taunt him. Taunt that Raphael, Cass.
Get it. Get it. And so Dean's like, how long is this going to take? And then they leave. Because I guess it's kind of abrupt. I'm just like, this part, you're like, wait, what happened?
Yeah, I feel like something is cut here, right?
Yeah,
so like,
it's very odd.
They go back, they cut to the house, and apparently that was all day.
Yes.
So they just had this fire burning in a circle
at a hospital
all day.
Yeah. And nothing happened. So then they go back to the house, and then guess who's there?
It's Raphael. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Angel.
Yeah, Raphael's there.
And then we start getting dick measuring contests between Dean and Raphael.
Yeah. And then they successfully trap Raphael with another circle of oil in an abandoned house. This seems like a major fire hazard once again. At least the hospital had like tile. This is going to have like a wood subfloor, if not wood floors. Very dangerous. Strongly recommend against it.
Yeah, I mean, also, how is this fire, which apparently is burning very brightly, like, not leaping to anything else? Like, it's all just staying in this circle. I guess it's magical.
It's that really special oil from that Jerusalem farmer's market.
I love that special hipster oil.
And Raphael's talking about how, like, he's more creative than even Zechariah with the stomach cancer thing and all that. And but they trap Raphael successfully. So Cassiel wants to ask Raphael where God is. And Raphael says something pretty dark by the standards of knowing that this is their goal right now, especially, and says that God's dead.
Every time I hear that, all I can think of is, I think it was Monty Python, where it's just like everyone, like, people knew that God were dead, but no one knew that God was so short. Have you ever seen that sketch? I'll find it, but that's all I think about when everyone says God is dead. And it's just like, but he was so short.
So we cut back to the bar, and Sam's hunter buddies have shown up. Well, one of them, especially the main one, the main guy.
Tim.
Yeah. So he shows up and he's pretty beat up. And Sam's like, "Are you all right?" And he's like, "Nope. One of my friends is dead. I need to know the truth from you. I went into town. Demon, got jumped, and the demon told me all about you." Right.
Yeah. How do the demons know so much more than everybody else on Earth? Like, is there like a website? Like, is there like where is this coming from? Like they are gossipy little bitches.
They are. They talk too much. So Steve is dead, and Reggie jumps in and grabs Lindsay and puts a knife to her throat. Extreme, guys. Like, I get, like, you are sad that somebody's dead, but why do you have a knife to this poor girl's throat? Who doesn't know what the fuck's going on? She just happened to be there. Like, let this bitch go and deal with Sam.
I'm sure this is working for her, too.
Oh,
like,
now you're right. Oh, I didn't even
she's
think
in
of
their
that.
drama.
Oh,
she's in Sam's circle now. Ugh. She's just in there like, oh man, he's never getting rid of her. She's gonna be texting him for like forever. Like, I hope you have it. Send her to the burner phone.
Yeah, that's not good. So back in the squatter house, Dean and Castiel have Raphael in this ring of fire, and he's like, Castiel tells him like, "Look, you're lying. We're gonna find God. It's fine." And Raphael's like, "Did you not see the 20th century and the 21st so far?" Ouch. So
they weren't great. You're not wrong. Also, the centuries before were not fantastic either. But Dean's also like, "Nuh-uh. If God's dead, who invented the Chinese basket trick?" And I have to confess, I had to look it up because I didn't know what it was. Do you know what it is?
Nope.
Okay, so the Chinese basket trick is basically, it generally involves a Chinese sex worker, but it's just anybody who gets into a sex swing, right? So the female is in a sex swing, the guy is on the ground, and then she like sits on his dick, and then she spins around like in the swing.
Oh.
That seems like it's going to break somebody's penis off.
Yes.
But apparently that is what the Chinese basket trick is. And Dean's that's why he has faith in God.
So, like, new meaning to sit and spin, I guess?
There are many meanings to sit and spin.
Yeah. Huh. I don't know how I feel about the information that you just shared with me. All right. So, we'll process that later. Well,
okay.
But Dean also is totally calling out the angels. He's like, "That's some bullshit. Like, you got fucking dad issues, and so you like start the apocalypse. Like, what the fuck?" So he's calling the angels out for this shit, since the angels are really responsible for leading up to the moment that caused Sam to start the apocalypse.
Yep, and Raphael is just showing that they are very entitled little brats.
Oh,
who are just like, "We're so tired. We just want it to be over. And whatever we want, we get." I'm like, oh, okay, that's a lot of privilege that you've got there. All right, Mr. Angel Face. I guess you are an angel. Yeah, so whatever. All right, so we're going to cut back to Sam again. We're just going back and forth.
Yeah,
I know,
and he's fighting, arguing with Tim, just like trying to like get away from having to go through the whole background. And finally he's like, "Look, will it make you hate me any less, or make me hate myself any less?" Oh, that was an interesting take on it. But yeah, it's fucking true. It's true.
He basically makes him say, like, I started the apocalypse. I was like, do you want to write it like in a chalkboard 1,000 times?
Like Bart Simpson style?
And so back to the angels and Dean, where at first I thought Cass was starting to sweat like I am. But then I realized it's because the windows are open, so it's raining. Because I was like, why is an angel sweating?
Yeah.
But
it's
I
raining
guess it's
and
just
lightning in the house at this point.
in the house, which is... I really hope this was like a foreclosure house or something.
Damage and the broken windows now. Now you've got some electrical damage. You got burns on the floor. Ugh.
You never will sell this house. Not in this market. So we're going back and forth, and just like, and Cass is like, "Well, so if God's dead, then who raised me?"
And Raphael's like, "Lucifer. He needs rebellious angels. What do you think?" Ruh-roh.
Well, I mean, yeah.
I mean, it's a theory.
It kind of makes sense. And after something that gets said later, you're like, well, maybe. It seems reasonable.
I mean, either theory could work out at this point. We have Castiel call him a bitch, and they leave.
No, he calls him, "Today you're my little bitch," which is a little more of a to Raphael, but still, I mean, he's got some good cutting lines in here. But so they're gonna leave, and
they just leave Raphael standing in the middle of this burning ring of fire in this house. By the way, just leave him there.
So the rain doesn't cut this out. Like I don't know. And then now I have Ring of Fire stuck in my head.
Sorry. So at the bar, we get a very upsetting scene. I was really not a fan. I mean, I get why they did it. I mean, obviously it fits the story, but like it was really upsetting. And because these hunters, Steve's dead. Tim and Reggie decide they're going to force Sam to drink demon blood, calling it go juice, because they want him to hulk out and waste the demons that killed his bestie. Otherwise, they're going to kill Lindsay.
So, in this fight with the demon, not only did the demon tell him that he started the apocalypse, he also told him that Sam liked to suck demon blood. And then they are like, hey, let me pull this glass vial that I have in here, and I'm going to take your blood, and I'm going to feed it to Sam.
It sounds like something Meg would share information-wise with a lot of demons.
All right, so, but they're just like, whatever, you're going to drink it. And then they get into a fight.
Big fight. Brawling. And they get Sam pinned down pretty well.
Yep, and they pour the blood down his throat. And then, like, they back away really fast because they're pussies. And they're just like, oh, I don't know what to do. Oh, what's he going to do?
Bad, man.
And then he spits it all over their face, and this is where Lindsay gets grossed out, and she starts clutching her pearls.
And
he's such a bad boy.
Oh
He's a bad boy.
He must have been an enforcer in the mafia. He's about to get stabby with Tim, but then decides to let them run away.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not gonna do any good. They're hunters. Yeah, he sent them away, but like, still was fucked up.
Yeah, but he also just, he does like, go, and then like, don't think we won't be back. Don't think we won't be here. Nah. And then just like, ugh.
It was,
stop.
It was, the blood thing was very upsetting though. I didn't like that.
Well, and then he got fruit punch mouth, and then he's just sitting there, and Lindsay with his fruit punch mouth being like, and she's like, I still like you.
Yeah.
I still bang you.
Yeah.
You're even more flawed now. I can fix him.
Ugh.
I can fix him, I swear.
Now we've got back to Dean and Castiel, and Dean tries to make jokes and loosen it up a little bit about, makes cracked about missing fathers and things like that.
Now, what he says is, look, I'll be the first to tell you that this little crusade of yours is nuts, but I do know a little something about missing fathers and crusades. Well, fuck. We need to go back to the crusades. Because there is a story I promised I would finish.
Oh, yes.
It's time for some cat sadness.
You've been promising.
I have been promising.
For lore.
And I have been promising it's lore. Say that I promised you cat anus. And then I started listening to catching up on last podcast on the left's series on the Salem witch trials, which is fantastic. But I got very upset because they also talked about the cat's anus. And what's really weird, based on the time that it came out, was probably the same time we were recording this. So there is a synchronicity in the world where everybody decided they were going to talk about these particular cat anus. All right. So Cass is going to boop us back. We've got our velvet back on.
We're not going to poop for a week.
We're not going to poop for a week. Probably with, like, we're in the high Middle Ages.
So I'd rather not anyways. It's fine.
Yeah, you're going to be, like, in a garter... I don't even know if garter robes were a thing, which those were the holes, like, in the castle walls that were kind of like the porta potties of the time. Oh. But for the most part, you're probably just pooping in a hole or throwing your shit out the window. Anyways, okay, so not pooping is great. We got Gregorian chants coming on. Remember, Elizabeth has died. Mm-hmm. But now that she's dead, Mr. Konrad has some extra time just to spend on chasing those pesky heretics. So it's 12:31, And Pope Greg has condemned the heretics that they be punished by the debt of hatred. Oh. So the debt of hatred means that you would be put to death, and all your family and supporters would be excommunicated and also lose their civic rights, including the right to hold office, to make a will, to get an inheritance, or to basically have access to any legal systems. So this is what's happening to once you get accused and condemned, right? Fun. And even your children and your children's children are would see a result of this. So not great. Pope Greg decides that Konrad needs to get the full power of a papal inquisitor. And so this is the first one in Germany to get that. And basically that releases him from the obligation of following procedure. And he just is kind of given the advice of just do your best. I mean, try and stick to, what we said you're supposed to do, like within our laws. But, use your judgment. Right. And, so you can't do this work by yourself. You need to get some assistance, right? Finally, I've been, torturing all these people by myself. Who am I going to get? All right, so he's going to get Konrad Dorso, who is a Dominican lay brother, and a guy named John. I'm sure John has the last name, but I didn't see it. But they do note in many sources that he was one-eyed and one-handed. Both of these men are described as ignorant and fanatical. Okay. But they also have just a special ability to determine who is a heretic just by looking at them.
Oh, that's not terrifying at all.
All right, so say you do get accused, right? And they're like, Diana, you are worshiping Satan. So you're not going to get a lawyer or any kind of defense, but you do have the option of confessing your sins instantly or facing the flames. Or you could confess and still face the flames, but you may have a better chance. So you do have to show that you're repentant by naming the other people, which is the traditional world of witchcraft. You have to name your
accusations,
friends.
For sure. You have to have people doing it with you. You weren't doing it alone.
You can't do this by yourself. No one worships Satan by themselves, right?
It's a group activity.
Konrad and his folks now, he's got his buddies, and they're just burning lots and lots of people. But I think we have the main question we still haven't answered, which was, were any of them actually Luciferians? To which I respond,
no, I thought it was where are the cat.
Well, we'll get to that in a minute. But the Luciferians question, honestly, the answer is a fuck if I know. Because most of this shit is in really old German books, and nobody translated them all for me. There were definitely heretics in Germany, and according to Jeffrey Burton Russell, there was one group called the Brethren of the Free Spirit, and they were in northern Germany, and they were making the church very uneasy with things. Basically, it's like, I don't need the church to be saved. And they also had the philosophy that urges to lust, greed, or other so-called sins should be fulfilled as soon as possible, since they come from God. And the only evil is to resist these feelings. So basically, they're like,
So they were hedonists.
Hedonist is one way of explaining it. Basically, it was a hippie movement of the time. And there are lots of these hippie movements, which is, you just think it's a cycle that runs through the world, right? Things were really bad. They sucked. Right. And so cults become, obviously, St. Elizabeth wanted her own cult, but there's all sorts of other cults that are popping up. They did have some things that were questionable. So they thought that, since they came from God, once they were initiated, they were the same as God, and that then they were incapable of sin and all things were permitted. They also thought that virginity could be restored by sleeping with the members of the sect. So for example, if a group of them had sex with a woman, then the last person she would bang would be the holiest one, because then he would restore her maidenhead and she would become a virgin again.
Huh.
That sounds healthy, right? So also according to,
that's all I got.
According to Russell, he names actual Luciferians that were in Germany in 1227, who he said had orgies underground because sin didn't count below ground. Above, if you're up in the streets, it's sinful, but if you're underneath, then it's fine. In 1230.
Sinful in the streets.
In the streets, or something in the sheets. Also in 1231, the Bishop Thierry, Thierry II, did condemn a woman named Lucardis, Lucardis, which also is also been spelled Lucardis, and she was burned at the stake after she claimed that Lucifer was wrongly thrown out of heaven and that he should be restored, which is a lot of the premise of Luciferian thought, right? And apparently Konrad is one of the people who exposed this sect. So this may be one of the Luciferians that he brought out.
Okay. An actual one.
There also, I did see one author say that he was investigating a sect of Luciferians and that, quote, the confessions he extracted were apparently made without torture, but under the threat of death if the victim did not confess. If these confessions were accurate, the Luciferians were full-blown Satanists. And seriously, an academic wrote that. He was just like, look, they weren't tortured, but, they were told that they were going to die. But if they were true, then they were actually Satanists.
That's some logic.
Yeah, that's a lot of hoop. Anyhow, all right, so a couple years go on, Konrad's just torturing away. And some people are starting to get concerned. But they didn't want to say anything because he was the Pope loved him so much that they didn't want to piss off the Pope. So most of the people were just like, this is a little bad, but I don't want to, I don't want to lose my standing. But then Konrad does send a report to Greg that a Count Heinrich von Steen is leading a sect of Luciferians, and he rides a crab through the air.
What?
He rides a crab through the air.
Huh.
Which is awesome. And so many questions.
I'm totally picturing the crab.
But is it a big crab or a little crab? What size of a crab is he riding? Is he just is it like a Roomba?
It's a little crab. He's just like
yeah, it's like the shark cat, but it's just it's Konrad. It's a count, and he's just on this little crab, just
sitting on it, swinging his feet.
He also tells Pope Greg that they are all toad and hangover worshippers. We'll get to the toad in a second. And they kiss animals and have sex with them, and they meet in dark rooms. Oh, so this count is riding crabs and kissing animals and fucking them. And the Pope is like, whoa! All right, so he follows that up with the Vox and Rama, which is a very important decree that sets the stage for a lot of things that are come. But that translates to a voice in Rama, which is a biblical reference to a tribe that means nothing. So within this very official document, we get to hear what happens when you join the Luciferian sect as a novice, an initiate. All right, so first, you kiss a toad. And then for some reason, in the Middle Ages, toads represented sexual power.
I just think about having to hose my dog's mouth out because when Kevin puts a frog in his mouth and spits it out, which he's done twice, I have to hose his mouth out because it gets foamy.
Yeah,
because it's poisonous.
So you get the foamy things because some people do bestow their kiss on his hind parts. So some people kiss the toad's butt. Others on his mouth, sucking the animal's tongue and slaver. I did mean to look up what the fuck a slaver was. I don't think I want to know. Sometimes the toad is of normal size, but others it is large as a goose or a duck. Usually it is the size of the mouth of an oven. No. So I'm picturing a old wood burning oven, I guess. It's the skinny, pale man with the black eyes. All memory of the Catholic faith is wiped from your memory, which I would like to know if that takes away my Catholic guilt. So I will totally kiss a toad and a skinny. I have kissed many small, pale men. So now I just have to kiss the toad. So once I do that, take away my Catholic guilt, we'll be all set. All right, so after you do that, then you eat dinner. Okay. Then a black cat shows up, and it shows up from behind a statue and disappears. And it's as large as a fair-sized dog. And then everyone takes turns kissing the cat's anus. I told you there would be a cat anus.
No.
There it is. Mm-hmm. All right, so after you're done licking the cat butt, then you have an orgy.
Oh, and everybody's kissed the cat butt? I don't want
and then you make out with each other. You've also, you've kissed a toad, you've kissed a man, you ate whatever you had for dinner, and then you kiss a cat butt.
Then? Oh.
Yeah, no, there was no teeth brushing. So you have an orgy. And then, so, quote, if by chance those of the virile sex surpass the number of women handed into ignominious, what the fuck is that word? Ignominious? Sure. Passions and burning in turn their desires, men commit indecency with men.
Oh, so everybody fucking is what
everybody fucking. If there's more men than women, the men fuck each other. If there's more women, the women also bone each other. It's an orgy, right? You don't discriminate during an orgy. You just bone, right? And so then the lights come on, and Lucifer comes out of the corner, where apparently he was just watching the whole time.
Like he does.
No kink shaming, Lucifer. If voyeurism is your thing. Cool. All right, so he apparently has the upper part of his body from the hips, not the tits, the hips, that shines brightly as the sun, but below that, his skin is coarse and covered with fur like a cat. Now, I'm not sure how those two work together, because how can you be coarse and also have cat fur?
That's weird. I don't know.
I don't know. Then the leader of the group will give Lucifer a piece of the initiate's clothing, and then you're in. All right, so I don't know what part of your clothing it gets, but you give so voyeur in the corner gets his trophy to smell later or something. There was another guy in Cologne, Germany at the same time who did tell us similar rites, and kind of really has nothing to do with Konrad, but I mean, it was the same time, same country, same cat butt. And this initiate comes in, and you have to renounce the sacraments. And so you're like, nah, not gonna get married. Don't want that. No communion wafer for me, because that shit is nasty. I'm like, those things were so gross. So that's all he has to do. You just have to renounce it, let it up. So they start off once again. This time, you kiss the pale dude first, and then you kiss the toad, but you still have the pale dude and the toad. And so then you get to meet up with a group in a cave beneath a cellar. Again, we're underground. And always underneath a cellar. So there's deep underground, right? Cellar underneath that. Then the high-ranking person pulls down his pants and bares his ass. Then he puts a silver spoon in it. Then the congregation takes turn kissing the guy's ass. I'm not sure.
Spoon in it.
Yeah, if they're kissing the spoon or the butt cheeks next to the spoon, but they're kissing a butt. Then after they get done with that, they all gather around this pillar, and this cat jumps up on top of it because it's a thing that's high, and a cat's gonna jump on that because that's what cats do. Then the cat lifts its tail, and then everybody can come forth and kiss the cat's butthole.
Who wants to kiss cat? Somebody wanted to kiss cat buttholes real bad. Right?
So either this is my theory. There's a couple of theories. One of them is mine, and that is, yes, some perv just wanted to kiss a cat butthole, and it just took off. I also read that there is a chance that this all started off as a nerd pun, because remember how I said in the last one, monks were really in, and there are all these monks that were going everywhere to learn stuff.
Yeah.
They think that somebody made a really bad joke about a cat, and then it just took off.
Yeah.
He was probably trying to make a pussy reference, and some look at my pussy, man. It was just fucking Timmy in 7th grade who thought he was funny, and that's how we get to cat's butts. I don't know. That's one of the things, but anyways, they're still in it. But so
bad game of telephone gone awry.
Bad game of telephone that just turns into people licking cat anus, and so. But after that, then the cat just puts the light out. because this cat is just like, because there's a lantern up there and the cat's just like, all right, thank you for cleaning the area I couldn't reach. And I have a cat. The cat can reach that area quite well on her own. But then it just like knocks the lamp off a table. Like, fuck this. Exactly. Fuck this lamp.
Fuck your lamp.
Then everybody bangs. Because of course now you have to have an orgy once you all taste like cat butt, and
person butt with spoon in it.
And also this one is masculi in masculos et feminae in feminas. So dudes banging dudes, chicks banging chicks. But I'm also not. They never say what happens to the spoon. Like, is the spoon still there? What was the purpose of the spoon?
I don't know.
Yeah, Pope Greg has gotten these letters from Konrad, and he demands action. Be like Konrad, burn them all. And he says their pestilence is like an infection, and once an infection has repelled lighter cures, recourse should be had to stronger remedies, and iron and flames should be applied to the wounds. So just basically light the bitches up. So he does that, but while he's like trying to like get people to follow stuff, back in Germany, the trial for the Count has started, and the Count has a lot of friends, and they all kind of they show up, and they're like, "No, he's not riding a crab. Never. He's allergic to shellfish." Nonsense. You know, we saw him ride a lobster once, but he would never ride a crab. Like crab.
He's too bougie for that. He rides lobsters.
And also, but Konrad is like, I don't believe anything you say because you're in with all of you, or you're in with Satan. And the bishops who are judging this are like, you crazy? They don't want to like actually say like, Konrad, you wrong.
Right.
So they kind of like put it aside. But basically the Count is mostly acquitted at this point. And Konrad goes home. And on his way home, some knights run into him.
Uh-oh.
And also Lusa Kebab. Lusa Kebab is there with him. They kind of beat him to death.
Well.
And nobody's quite sure if these knights were the Counts. But nobody's saying they were not the Counts.
What can you do?
What can you do? So,
I mean, you turn into an insane, power-hungry, torturous asshole. I mean, what happens?
Sometimes you get yours. Sometimes, and
Not
so
always,
he dead, and so is Lusa Kebab. Both of them dead. Konrad does get buried near Saint Elizabeth, so he gets that for him. And the trials for the Count and his friends do continue the following year, but shockingly, all the charges are just basically dismissed because Konrad's not there anymore. But Pope Greg, he's the last one who's left, and he's very upset. He's very upset that Konrad was murdered. That was his bestie. He loved him, and he's basically curses Germany. He's like, that. And he goes on to finish wagering the Stedinger Crusade in northern Germany. That basically was heretics who, for all accounts, is basically, they didn't want to pay taxes to the bishops.
Right.
And basically started a revolt against them. And so the bishops asked the Pope to go in on this crusade with him. And he's like, no. And then eventually, I don't know how much the Konrad thing influenced how many more times, he started doing things. But I think it's certainly probably possibility it did. He does multiple calls for people to join this. And eventually 40,000 crusaders do come. And they wipe out this entire population of peasants, including women and children. Their death tolls end up raging between, somewhere between 4,000 to 11,000 people died during this, but basically just wipe out this entire race of working class. Then after that, because that wasn't shitty enough, the next year in 1234, he decides that, quote, the followers of the Talmud shall remain in a state of political slavery until the day of judgment. So he basically just says, I hate the Jews and they should be in slavery. And a few years later, he orders that all copies of the Talmud be confiscated and burned. That results in, France, there's something like 10,000 versions of editions of the book that were burned. But thankfully, he was old and he doesn't live much longer, so he fucking dies. Thank God. Thanks, Satan. Whatever. He dies in 1241, but sadly, besides all those shitty things he's done, the main thing he's remembered for is he's the reason that people consider black cats unlucky.
Fucking cat anuses.
Cat anuses. And that is the story of whether or not they're or I guess the question of whether or not they're Luciferians in 13th century Germany. Who knows?
Whoa. Yeah, so we're somewhere in Maine still. And Dean, they're driving, and Dean's like, they had this conversation about knowing, Dean knew in his heart that John was alive when John was still alive, when they were looking for him. And so if you know, he doesn't care what the Ninja Turtle says. If you believe God's out there, then you need to find him. And that's it. And then Dean kind of has like a weird thing where he's sharing with Castiel that he's fine without Sam. He's actually had more fun in the last 24 hours than in years. And I'm just, you know, tired of being chained to my family and happy to be alone. And so Castiel disappears.
But also, I do get this, Dean. Like, I get the, man, like, I've been watching out for somebody for, you know, after having been, or just in general, like, if you're responsible for a person, that does really much change, like, your day-to-day. Like, he's been stressed the fuck out.
Well, and finally, like, dynamic for sure.
Yeah. And I think it's all a cover. Of course, like, he wants his brother there. I don't think he's happy to be alone. I wish,
no,
you know.
He's not. Then we cut to the final scene of this episode. And it's a pretty upsetting one, I'm not going to lie.
They kind of beat him to death.
Yeah.
And nobody's quite sure if these knights were the counts. But nobody's saying they were not the counts.
I didn't think of it. Maybe.
What can you do?
But you don't know that at this point.
But you don't know this. But now that, like, I'm not going to, like, do a spoiler because this happens in 5 minutes from now.
It's right now.
But I didn't, like, think about that. Like, so is he just licking Lucifer's neck?
That's crazy. I didn't even think of it. So, yeah, he thinks he's making out with Jess, and she's still like, you've got your head buried in the sand, blah, 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 blah. You need to have, you know, whatever, go do stuff. And he's like, no, there's a, you know, I can change. There's a reason to hope. And Jess says, no, there isn't. Oh, because it's not Jess because that has no hope. It's fucking Lucifer in Nick's body.
I mean, at least he does, like, at least he's not covered in cat fur that we can see. Like, and when he's licking her neck, skin. was it coarse skin? Like, was it?
They have this back and forth, but basically we come to learn that Lucifer wants to give Sam a present for freeing him. And, however, the bigger piece of this is that Nick's body as a vessel was plan B. Sam was plan A. Sam is supposed to be the vessel for Lucifer. So now we know that Dean is supposed to be the vessel for Michael, which kills Lucifer, and Sam is supposed to be the vessel for Lucifer. What the fuck? It's crazy.
Yeah, so I really
Angels are dicks.
I wanted to know what your reaction to this was.
It was upsetting. Why would they do that to brothers? That's just rude.
But
it makes for good
the archangels are brothers.
Yeah, I guess.
So and also
they don't see it that way.
Literally, like from a literary narrative standpoint, its symmetry is beautiful. But also, were you shocked?
Yes. Like, so I wasn't like, okay, all right, well, shocking. Yeah, it's fucking Lucifer, not fucking Jess.
No, that Sam
but
was
that he
was
a vessel. Yeah, that threw me. I was shocked, very shocked, and yeah. So, and the whole reason that Sam was in the chapel was to be the vessel, like, so it was all part of the plan. And Sam's like, no, fuck that, I'll kill myself. And Lucifer's like, I'll just bring you back. Sorry.
And then you think back to what was said earlier about whether or not Lucifer was the one who brought back Cass. Does this make that more plausible?
Okay, maybe. But would Lucifer be strong enough to bring back an angel?
I don't know. Did he lick a cat's anus?
I mean, well, does Lucifer have to do that?
I think the cat is Lucifer. I don't know. Like, maybe it's just
symbolizes Lucifer, I think.
So Sam just is like, why me?
He's like, yeah, it always had to be you. It always gets. That's all he gets.
But yeah, it had to be you. It always had to be you. That is
dark and sad and heavy.
Yeah, and then also I'm like, oh man, is he gonna like, he already thinks he's a freak. Like, is this gonna make him spiral down that? I'm so different.
Yeah.
We love the show. We really do. Sorry.
No, I really do. I'm not just bitching. I'm still enjoying it.
I know that,
but like part of the joy of it is like going like at it. But like that's part of it too. Like I'm, I wouldn't get invested and have that reaction if I didn't care. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
Anyways, yeah, it was upsetting. There was some really good, like the synchronicity and the contrast in this episode with like a lot of the edits with them being separate. We're still dealing with both of them being emotionally fucking challenged, but we did get, like I said at the beginning, even though it's not like it was a little like a bit of like a episode, it also did give us a lot of important, I would assume, story pieces that we needed to have.
Yeah, I mean that's a pretty big breaking thing in the storyline. Yeah.
Well, and then Raphael talking with that, I think some of that probably is important. So yeah, that's what I got.
Is God dead? Is God short?
Well, I've got a few casting notes if we want to hit a couple of our members of this episode.
Casting couch. It's the casting couch. Were they on that show that time with that guy? La 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 la.
So here we go. We'll kick off with Donnie Finnerman, who's Raphael, aka or Donnie Finnerman, aka Raphael. It's played by Damore Barnes. He's Mr. Ibis in American Gods, and I might say it wrong because I've read it, not watched the show. He's an ongoing character.
Right. I think it's right.
Okay, Ibis. Okay, and then Deputy
Ibis.
Chief Ibis. Okay, Deputy Chief Christian Garland on Law and Order Special Victims Unit.
Garland.
I know you're a fan, so I had to get that one in there. He was William Wintergreen in Titans. He was Whitley in the 12 Monkeys television series. I love the movie. I never did watch the TV show.
There was the TV show?
Yeah, they made a TV show. It was like sci-fi in New York. And then he was Wayne Martin in, to bring it to Texas, the Waco miniseries.
Like about David Koresh?
Uh-huh. Yeah. Anyways.
I'm going to watch that.
So we've got then Lindsay, played by Emma Bell. She was in a TV show called Dollhouse.
Name.
Emma Bell, yeah.
Oh, Dollhouse with Faith?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I like.
Did you watch Dollhouse?
Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, it was I don't know if it's rewatchable.
I don't know. I don't know about that. It was entertaining.
I love Eliza Dushku, so
yeah. And then she was in Final Destination 5, which I did not get to, but I did see the early ones, which ruined me for life. She was a really regular character on Walking Dead in 2010 to 2012, so early on, named Amy. The Emma Brown in the new resurrection of the TV show Dallas, and she was in one episode of Lucifer, but I mean, she was in other stuff too, but I just want to point out shows we actually talk about sometimes.
Shows we actually watched.
Yeah. Tim was played by Scott Michael Campbell. He was on like one episode of like a million TV shows, like one of those. But he also was in Project Alf, the TV movie in 1996, which I was just amused about it existing and hadn't heard reference in a while. He was in Flubber. He was in Bulworth.
Ooh. Ooh.
I know.
We're pulling. We're going back.
And Brokeback Mountain.
I did know the Brokeback Mountain one. That I did know.
Okay, and then he's on the TV. He was a regular character on the TV show Shameless, named Brad, and he was in a couple episodes of a TV show called Wayward Pines that I really enjoyed.
Oh, that was kind of a little weird, quirky show, right?
Yeah, it was real weird.
I watched a few episodes. I don't know if how far I got into it.
I was all in. Yeah. And then Reggie Hull was one of the other hunters, played by Colin Lawrence. He was in several episodes of X-Files. He was in House of the Dead. Once again, he was in like one episode of a gazillion shows. But he was in The Watchmen as an officer. He was in iZombie as a recurring character, Jenko. He was in the Fixer Upper Mysteries, the miniseries that we keep saying we need to watch because it's about like mysteries at houses that are being renovated. He's actually
the show we need to make, not the show we need to watch. The show we need to make.
He's in the really popular current show Virgin River as John, aka Preacher.
I don't know
on Netflix.
That show.
It's a Netflix show that like everybody's excited about. I don't know. And he was Coach Clayton on Riverdale. He's a regular character on Riverdale, which I'm a fan.
Oh, Riverdale.
Then we got more. I got a couple more for you. We got some fun ones. I know. We got a bunch in this episode. We got Steve Reynolds. He was the other hunter, the one that died. Sean Campbell, once again, he was in like one episode of every show ever, including the original.
Wasn't the other guy a Campbell?
Colin Lawrence. The first one, there was Scott Michael Campbell also.
Okay.
All three of these guys overlapped on a lot of shows, not necessarily the same episodes, but shows they were on. But this guy was actually same circles. Original episodes of MacGyver and 21 Jump Street. Okay.
Like the original ones, like the Johnny Depp and Richard Dean Anderson.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. He was Richard in the New Addams Family in 1998, and he was in a ton of
which one's
movies.
that?
The New Addams Family in the 90s.
Like the movie or the what's the New Addams Family?
The New Addams Family is what it's called. It was a movie in the 90s.
Okay, I had to look at to figure out which Addams Family movie that was.
Yeah. And he was in like bit parts in Sucker Punch, Man of Steel, Big Eyes, and Sonic the Hedgehog.
I think I know who he was. Okay, I'll have to look it up to confirm. Okay. And the Teeth Sonic the Hedgehog?
The new one.
Okay.
And then Deputy Walt Franingham was played by Peter Bryant. He had a bit part in the Jumanji movie from back when, lots and lots and lots of TV movies and television. He was the, quote, black TV reporter in Scary Movie. He was in 3,000 Miles to Graceland as Tom. He was in Man/EVP, was what they called him, in White Noise, the horror film. He was in Fantastic Four. He also had a bit part in Sucker Punch. He was been in an episode of Once Upon a Time. He was the Army Chief of Staff in the Sonic the Hedgehog movies also. And he is Principal Waldo Weatherby in Riverdale. We got some fun crossovers, so there we go.
We do. All right. Well, thank you for the curtain call. Any final notes on the episode?
No, I'm excited to see what comes back next. I mean, I know, like, here's, like, I'm not, obviously not a spoiler, but I'm not a fucking idiot. I'm ready for the brothers to get back together. I like it. They work better that way. Yeah. This is annoying. I get that they've got to go on their emotional journeys, but I'm okay. Speed it up, bros. So that's right.
Bruh. Come on.
Bruh.
Bruh.
Try not to say
you
that.
did it. I know. Speaking of a problem. I know. I think we're just going to end this. Okay. This is just how we end the show. All right, fine, cool. Whatever. Cheers, jerk.
Cheers, bitch.
Devil's Trap Podcast is a Don't Get It production. Meow.
Devil's Trap Podcast is part of the Ship It Studios podcast network. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Devil's Trap Podcast. You can follow us on Instagram at Devil's Trap Podcast, Twitter at Devil's Trap Pod, or you can email us at devilstrap@devilstrappodcast.com. Don't forget to subscribe, leave reviews, and share with all your friends. We're at all your favorite podcast outlets and at devilstrappodcast.com. I'm Babe. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.